Welcome to the anniversary and celebration of the beginning of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I would like to thank everyone here today for coming. Thank you. Thank you, members of the press, for being here as well. I'd like to make a few introductions. Standing with me, Leader Munson, Senator Kurt, Representative Fugate, Representative Talley, Representative Archer, Representative Bennett, Representative Rosecrans, Representative Deck, Representative Menz, and Representative Alonso Sandoval. And thank you guys for being here with me. And I'd also like, my name's Ellen Hefner, and I'd like to thank all the members of the legislature for your ongoing work and support for people who need it the most. 33 years ago, on this very day, July 26th, the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law. The ADA transformed our country in important ways, changing expectation for the lives of people with disabilities. This law requires accessibility and bans discrimination in almost all private businesses and has significantly reduced discrimination in state and local government services. Today, we come together to celebrate what the ADA means for so many people who have disabilities, who deserve to be seen, deserve to be heard, deserve to be known and understood. I would like to introduce my friend, Lindsey Spoon, and I would like to ask you if you could share your story.
Thank you, Representative Hefner, for inviting me today. I'm very excited to be with you all. Like she said, my name is Lindsey Spoon. I live in Rogers County, Los Rams. So, the ADA has improved my life dramatically. That is also known as the Americans with Disabilities Act. Sorry, I did not define my acronym. But the ADA has improved my life dramatically. It's allowed me to live in my community, it's allowed me to work in my community, and it's allowed me to enjoy my community. However, as much as I enjoy these provisions that are provided by the ADA, there are still a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to serving Oklahomans and nationally as well as people with disabilities. One of these instances happened when I was voting. I went to vote and I use assistive technology to be able to vote. What that means is I use a pair of headsets that will allow me to read the ballot to be read to me and use this little dial box that's connected to the place where they record and scan their ballots. So, as I was voting and doing my voting duty as a citizen of the United States of America and as an Oklahoman, I was getting distracted very much by regular people coming up to record their ballot. So I went to my county election board, shout out to Rogers County Election Board, and said, hey, this is not right. I don't have the rights and responsibility to vote independently and privately, which is what the ADA provides me. And they said, hey, we didn't even realize this was a problem. Most of people, when you bring stuff to like ADA accommodations, they don't even realize it's a problem until you raise your voice up and you say something. So what my county is now doing whenever I go and vote and I want to use the accessible voting machine is I have a partition wall now that I'm separated from all the other people who are still using that machine to walk up and record their vote, but I'm not being distracted and I'm able to vote independently, privately, and respectfully. And in closing, I would just want to tell you that I hope the ADA continues to allow people to live and flourish in their communities, because we all have the right to live and work and enjoy our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lindsey. That was a beautiful story, and we all appreciate you sharing your story with us. I've also invited Brian Wilkerson from the Oklahoma Disability Law Center. Could you please come up?
I want to start by thanking all of you for being here today. I want to thank Representative Hefner for inviting us here to speak. Other esteemed members of the legislature that are here today, thank you for your time. These are important issues, and this is important. I'm not really sure how to follow that up, and I don't think that I'm going to say anything more than what Lindsey just told you. Not only her description of the ADA and what it does for individuals living with disabilities, but also her story and how she has struggled and made a change by advocating for herself. There's nothing higher that we can achieve or strive for than individuals being able to self-advocate. Signed into law in July 26, 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act symbolized a shift in the American consciousness regarding how we think about individuals living with disabilities. No longer would we as a society continue to view disabilities as limiting, but rather, after the passage of the ADA, we vowed to move forward with an eye towards equal opportunity and inclusion in all areas of life and all aspects, including employment, transportation, telecommunications, and public services. With this in mind, I just want to take a few moments to reflect on some of the progress that we've made while recognizing the continued struggle that remains before us. In the areas of employment and the workforce, the ADA's requirement of the provision of reasonable accommodations to qualified employees with disabilities and their prohibitions against discrimination in hiring has opened the doors for countless individuals to pursue and engage in the career of their choice. As a result of the ADA's focus on accessible transportation, public transportation systems across the country have become more deliberate in their delivery of services to individuals with disabilities. With the requirements to provide appropriate accommodations, this network of public transportation systems has become more accessible to all, enabling individuals with disabilities to exercise greater independence and mobility. In the ever-evolving fields of technology and telecommunications, the ADA has kept pace with these industries to ensure new technologies are accessible to all. Individuals living with disabilities can now fully participate in the digital age with the required addition of accessibility features to websites and mobile applications. Finally, in its 33-year history, the ADA has ushered in a new era of accessibility for all in our public spaces. From ramps, lifts, and accessible doorways, and accessible parking spaces, to automatic doors and accessible restrooms and meeting spaces. Our world has become more inclusive of all. Now, even our children with disabilities have equal access to playgrounds and aquatic centers, with the new construction and installation of accessible equipment and facilities. These are just a few examples highlighting how the creation and implementation of the ADA has greatly improved opportunities for and inclusion of individuals living with disabilities in the many areas of life that those of us without disabilities often take for granted. Our staff at Oklahoma Disability Law Center will continue to advocate for full inclusion, accessibility, and equal rights for individuals living with disabilities. And we call on you and encourage everyone to speak out when they see discrimination, to strive to foster a culture of empathy and understanding and inclusion by embracing diversity in all of its forms.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you being here. So today's celebration is also a time for us to recognize the work of advocates and know that when we put up a fight, we do see progress. We celebrate these victories that have been achieved, but we also recommit ourselves to what we have yet to do in this continuous fight for disabilities and their rights. The ADA anniversary is also a time to reflect and remember that nothing we gain will ever be permanent if we are not vigilant. We cannot get tired. We cannot get overwhelmed, and we can never give up. This is not a fight against something, it's a fight for something. Disability is a natural part of the human experience and in no way diminishes the right of individuals to participate in or contribute to society. The ADA is the law that protects those rights. Today, on this 33rd anniversary of the ADA, we reaffirm the promise of dignity and equity due to people with disabilities, and acknowledge that much more work has to be done to fully deliver on that promise. Thank you again for being here to celebrate the ADA. And thank you guys for coming as well. Are there any questions? All right. Yeah.